what's amazing is that we heard all this talk about how there's going to be a new church committee, where the church committee was a committee that was set up in 1972, I believe it was, 1970, as a direct result of finding that the FBI and to some extent the CIA had been spying on Americans and building dossiers on people like Martin Luther King and other civil rights leaders. And they had this program called COINTELPRO. It was 1975. Okay. COINTELPRO, which was like a counterintelligence program that was spying on a host of Americans and in many senses doing worse. There was assassinations that the CIA was engaged in. This was a real attempt, and to some extent it was successful, to some extent, on putting a check on the power of the CIA and the FBI and the national security state. It has been watered down over the years, didn't go far enough at the time, but it was a real check. The idea that this is going to be a new one is absurd.
Yeah.
Their committee is going to be specifically not how government is weaponized against the American public. It is going to be some type of like witch hunt, and really sort of just, I mean, literally a witch hunt in the fakest sense of the word.
It is the Durham investigation 2.0.
It's the Durham investigation, but it's also, if it was looking at government overreach, they would be studying how this new report that the FBI was putting provocateurs into Colorado Black Lives Matters protests. And if they had done it there, there's no reason to believe they hadn't done it in other places as well. It won't look at that at all. And then we hear all this stuff about censorship. If they were interested in the way that government is weaponized against people, they would be looking in Florida, where DeSantis is shutting down, taking away people's liquor licenses if they have a drag show, or the way that they are punishing teachers or banning books, where you have two school systems in Florida telling their teachers, take your books down, put them under wraps, because we're not sure what does or does not cross the line in terms of teaching, history about slavery, or maybe references the fact that some people are married to someone from the same sex.
Or maybe they could look into potential, not saying it happened, but potential U.S. involvement in the assassination of Jovenel Moïse in overseas, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, but primarily they're looking at supposedly we're weaponized against Americans. The government is weaponized against Americans.
Right.
But here is what they're really going to be looking at. Here is Ted Cruz on the podcast with Ben Ferguson, I guess. What happened to his other one?
This is it. The Verdict is his show.
Oh, the Verdict is as opposed to the one with Knowles?
Knowles, that's I guess Knowles was out or something. I don't know why he's not on this one, but the Verdict is what they do. Okay. Ferguson is also with
Listen to what they're actually going to be doing, at least in the Senate. This is their big non-weaponizing of government.
I went to Lindsey, and Lindsey and I co-authored this letter together. So it's from the ranking member of Commerce and the ranking member of Judiciary.
And that's significant. Any company that gets this letter, they're going to take it seriously.
Yes. And then also Mike Lee and Tom Cotton both signed the letter as well. They were both very interested in the issue. And what happened, so DirecTV, all right, let's back up. A year ago, the three biggest cable news networks that were right of center were Fox News, Newsmax, and One America News, in that order in terms of ratings. A year ago, Democrat members of Congress wrote to AT&T, which owns DirecTV, owns 70% of DirecTV. Texas Pacific owns the other 30%. Democrat members of Congress wrote to the CEO of AT&T and said, please throw off air Fox News, Newsmax, and One America News. We don't like what they're saying. We call it misinformation, which is the Democrat code word for seeking censorship. So they asked the CEO of AT&T to throw them off.
And this wasn't a hidden letter. People need to understand this was very out in the open, transparent.
They put out press releases.
Yeah, they were wanting this fight.
Yes. In the year that followed, DirecTV has now thrown off the air 2 of the 3.
Now, to be clear, you'll also recall that before they sent this letter, there was a story, I think it was in Reuters, about how AT&T had basically been just pumping this company up.
Oh, yeah.
And pouring cash into it. Now, he's talking about 2 sort of California representatives who sent letters, not as senators on top of these committees, like Ben Ferguson said, with some real power.
Right.
Heavy hitters. But they also were doing this in the wake of this letter in Reuters. Now, I don't think that you should have lawmakers sending these letters whatsoever. A couple of backbenchers, 2 out of the 225 members of the Democratic caucus in the House, backbenchers in California, Reps Anna Eshoo and Jerry McNerney.
Right.
They're just long time foot soldiers.
As opposed to 4 Republican senators who sit on committees that arguably regulate these companies, are now basically saying, you need to make the business decision to bring them back. The reason why they got rid of them is because they were funding them and they weren't going anywhere. They just stopped. People stopped watching them.
I mean, I think that there was some viewership, but the point is that they made a free market-based decision that the viewership that they were getting was not worth the controversy that they were embroiled in for hosting massive amounts of conspiracy theories on their cable platform. That's the reality of it. So I don't know why Ted Cruz hates the free market, but they made a choice there.
Yep. Let's go to the IMs. I'm opening up the phone lines right now. Roni fan, anecdote about Facebook to share. I had set up an account for a work-related event. I used a new generic email, so they had no idea who or what I was. The first suggested post I see, Matt Walsh. Oddly, it was not political, but an old benign post about backpacks. I refreshed and got a Ben Shapiro post about something non-political. Take it for what you will, but it seems they are soft-pedaling the Daily Wire. That may come as a bonus when you buy the millions of dollars of advertising they have bought on that platform. New Jersey Mailman, did you guys see Jackson Hinkle blaming people in Africa for the transatlantic slave trade? No,
I did see that. Yes.
I have not seen what Jackson Hinkle has done in a long, long time. Mm-hmm. I do remember him going to the LaRouche. Mm-hmm. When was that? When did we see that video? Was that like in December?
Know. Time.
Is it just me? Or is he grifting for money?
Yes, he's grifting for money. It's not just you.
Does he have an audience anymore? I feel like once all the stuff, he got a big audience when he was going heavily pro-Russia, but I feel like they may have pulled back on that budget.
Maybe, but it seems like he's kind of leaned more into the manosphere stuff, like how to get women to like you and work out and also be, a manly man.
I did see, I take back. I don't know if I saw him, but I did see the scuttlebutt about his girlfriend leaving him for
Jonah Hill.
I mean, Jonah Hill's a talented guy.
I love Jonah Hill. I get it, but sad. Guess he's unlucky in romance as well.
That is that's like one of the big things that turn people right. It's like when they lose a girlfriend or they get divorced or something like that. And by people, I mean men.